they see questions or whatever, they'll grab them and answer them.
Okay.
So,
I bumped the air down.
okay.
You got water.
I got water.
What I want you to do is just get comfortable in your chair.
Oh, I'm
You can sit
nervous.
however you want. Oh, don't be nervous.
I'm nervous. Let me just go ahead and take his glasses off.
And you want your mic. You can flip it. I've got it where it kind of hangs, but you can also stand it up if you want
Yeah,
to.
because I have no idea.
You can do it like this
There we go.
and swing it in towards your body.
Okay.
You just want to keep that thing as close to you as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Cam, may come and adjust it. I would say up in there somewhere. This right here moves, so everything moves.
Okay.
So you can just adjust it to wherever you need to be at.
Okay.
Cam, you ready, buddy?
You wanted about a hand's width between you and
2
your
hands.
Okay. Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
good.
And you can move your chair. Like I said, just get in there so you're comfortable.
There we go.
So I've got a camera over my left shoulder that'll be shooting you.
Okay.
Camera over your right shoulder that'll be shooting me.
Okay. Do I look cute? No, I'm just
So
speaking.
you look great. Does my hair look okay?
It does. Looks amazing.
Okay.
Looks amazing.
All right, and you want to go by your. You want to go by your color?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright.
Cam, your mic's good.
Let's do a mic check.
Mic check 1, 2, 3.
Might check 1, 2, 3.
Good. Alright. Recording audio. And then cameras are rolling.
Okay. Hey, I just want to come on real quick and say thank you so much for joining us on the Recovery Valve podcast. I'm your host, I'm Eric Kennedy, and today I've got a really special, huge TikTok influencer in the studio with me, Miss Nicole, who's also going to be recording her interview today on her live stream. So if you are a TikTok follower, you can't see it live right now because this episode won't come out for maybe 8 weeks, but go follow her on TikTok. You can follow us on TikTok. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook. But let's dive right in. Nicole,
Hi.
you and I connected on Facebook, or not Facebook, on TikTok.
We did.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's start there.
Okay.
When I saw you on TikTok, I saw you had an influence and you have a lot of people that follow you. I didn't expect you to say that you were from Augusta, Georgia, because I can either have you come here to the studio in Augusta or we have a studio in Dallas. And for the amount of people that you have influence over, I thought you were going to be like in a big city somewhere,
Nope. I'm here.
which is fine. Augusta's awesome. But I just want to dive in and talk about what got you to the point to where you have this kind of influence. Were you in some type of heavy addiction? And are you in recovery now? And how did you get there? Tell me your story.
So, it all started, I'm already gonna cry.
That's fine. We got Kleenex here.
So, they say like addiction is, people all the time wonder where addiction comes from.
Where do you think it comes from?
Trauma.
Okay.
Trauma. For me, when I was a little girl, I had something happen to me that shouldn't happen to a child. And my addiction started way before drinking. I've lost 200 pounds. So my addiction was actually eating,
Wow.
and I would eat to make myself feel better. So addiction isn't just substance,
No.
Addiction can be anything.
We had a lady on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and she had kind of the same thing. She had an issue with an eating disorder
Mhm.
that led to alcohol and a few other
Mhm.
things. And that episode will come out in about 6 more weeks. Go and throw that out.
So when I would have to say, like, my story started when I was 7 years old. I've been going through therapy, and so we've been pinpointing like times and things like that. My parents were young; they were 16 and 18 when they had me. They were great parents, but they were kids themselves, So they, did the best they can. I have wonderful, wonderful grandparents. I love my grandma and my grandpa, and I love my mom and my daddy. I didn't have a relationship with my dad, and now that I'm sober, I do, but my mom has been my rock. She will always be my rock. But I...
Is it okay if I ask you a question?
Hmm?
Do you feel comfortable enough to share what your trauma was?
As far as, yeah, I was abused
Sexually?
sexually when I was a little girl, and it went on for about 5 years.
Okay.
And I didn't tell anybody, because how do you tell somebody that? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really know what it was. And the sad thing is I thought it was love
At 8 years old.
at 8 years old.
I'm gonna tell you how we can relate right here. This is just us having a conversation. I went to Atlanta yesterday to a Comic-Con with two good friends of mine, Cameron and Tristan, and we talked about this. And I talked about it from a point of view as a young boy.
Mm-hmm.
I was 8 years old when I was sexually abused.
Mm-hmm.
It was different for me. I can say that was a trauma, but it was a different experience for me because I had gotten, I don't know how to say it, you know, like I had oral sex performed on me when I was very, very young. I was 8 years old, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't traumatic, but it was almost like, I know I didn't, you know, I don't even know, is that right or not? What
Yeah.
that did though is it made me have a different outlook on that woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't, and so that's just a different dynamic from a female point of view,
Mhm.
where you wanted it to be love and
Mhm.
done right, even as a young child.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was not that it was. I just thought that was how you showed love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like my conception of love was so messed up, and I didn't understand it. And then I got married to my son's dad. And when my son was 12 months old, we found out that he had a blood disorder. And we went through hell. I mean, it was hell. And, you know, I tried to hold everything together, and I tried to be the strong mama. I went through a lot of it by myself because we were in Atlanta. And I'm trying to lead up to like where the addiction
You
started,
take your
because
time.
it's just what people don't realize is when you don't handle something and you let it build and build and you suppress it, one day it's going to explode, you know? And so we went through that with him, and I'm talking about, like, I remember one day I was up there by myself, and his ANC, which is his immune levels, were really low, and they had to hook him up to life support. And I was by myself, and I remember sitting there just begging God, like, please don't take my baby. Like, just don't take my baby from me. So he went through chemo, you know, and I used to have people tell me all the time, they're like, you're so strong, you never cry. And I remember one night, I was in my living room, and he was asleep, his dad was asleep, and I was sitting on the floor, and I really have to say it was my first experience with Jesus. Like, my first experience, like, truly with the Holy Spirit. Like, my dad was a preacher, so I grew up knowing God, right? I grew up, I always say I grew up and went to church. Like, as soon as they brought me home from the hospital, I was in church. And I was in the living room floor, and all I could say was, why? I mean, just over and over. I was like, why, God? Why my baby? Why? And you can call it crazy, you can call it whatever, but I felt this wind go by my face. And I looked up, because I thought somebody had come through my front door. And it's like I heard the Holy Spirit say, why did I have to watch my son get beaten? Why did I have to watch my son get mocked? Like, my son even said, like, Father, why hast thou forsaken me? But the stripes on my son's back is so that your son could be healed. And I held on to that for a really, really long time, and it got me through. And after Landon got off of chemo, he was off for about a
What's
year.
his name?
His name's Landon.
That's
He
my
is.
son's middle name.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. His name's Landon. He's my baby. You'll probably die if you hear me say that, but
How old is he now?
He's 17. He'll be
Okay.
18 in September.
He's gonna be 17.
Yeah, so after he got off of that, my parents had been married for 29 years, and they got a divorce not too long after that. And I went out one night to celebrate Landon being off being in remission for a year, and I drank. I was never really a drinker. I drank on my 21st birthday, got drunk. I was like, I am never doing that again. It was awful. But I remember I didn't have to feel. Like, everything I had felt, I was numb. And a lot of people say, like, my drinking built up. Mine didn't. I mean, I was
Wow.
gone. I was gone.
You remember what you drank that first night?
Vodka Red Bull is what I had. And that's
You
what
don't
I
know if you're
drank.
coming or going then.
I didn't. I mean, and I'm talking about, like, I would drink pints. I would drink Biffs. I mean, my addiction got so bad that later on in my addiction, I remember that I would wake up at like 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and crawl to the trash can just to get an ounce or whatever, a drop of liquor that I could to get me to the liquor store the next morning. I mean, it was my lifeline. It was the only thing that I felt could take away the pain. You know, and in the process of it, it didn't take away the pain. It took away everything I loved.
So whenever you said Landon was sick, it seems like you were doing okay.
Oh, yeah, I was.
It was almost like you were in recovery from, or you were kind of in recovery because of what you had to deal with Landon, but that situation kept you from having to face the past. Am I saying that right? And then when you knew he was okay or he got better, or
So it was almost like I held all this stuff in, right? Like, it was like this little secret box, and it was my box. And I didn't tell anybody about it. I remember when I finally told my mom, I was drunk. And afterwards, she was like, why didn't you ever tell me? And I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's because I thought maybe my parents wouldn't believe me, or I was ashamed. I don't know why I didn't.
someone close to
tell
the
them.
family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I just didn't tell anybody, and it was like years and years of just things building up that I never addressed, right? Till finally, when Landon was in remission, you know, he had been in remission for a year. What I thought was an innocent going out having a good time celebrating literally was like the turn of 8 years of a long, dark path that just was destruction.
Wow. It sounds, when you talk about crawling to the trash can, that's a pretty low moment.
Oh, it was.
How far from the first time that you got that drink, you know, how much time did you spend in that depth of addiction?
So in 2018, I went to rehab. I went to
Locally, or?
Yeah, I went to
Okay.
Catherine's Way. And I went because I wanted to make my family happy, and I didn't want to lose my son. So anytime somebody tells me, oh, I won't help, my first question is, are you done?
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't. I went to rehab. I was in there for 90 days, did the program, got out, met my other ex-husband. We moved to New Mexico, and I want to say,
Whoa.
yeah.
You went from here to there?
Yeah,
That's
so
a big jump.
It was.
From Augusta, Georgia
Yeah.
to New Mexico. What made you go to New Mexico?
He's in the military.
Sucker. Okay. Gotcha.
So he was in the military. And you know, like in the big book, it says there's a story and it talks about you try to go to different zip codes, but the thing is you can't run from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, when I met John, because John was a great guy, I mean, he really was, supported my recovery at the time. But in my mind, I was like, if I can just get away from this area, I'll be okay. And what I didn't realize is I was leaving my son, right? Because he was here. His dad didn't want me to take him with me. It's just this big old ordeal. And when I got to New Mexico, I started drinking again. That's where I got my third DUI. And I started drinking, and mostly because, as messed up as it sounds, like I wasn't with my son and I missed my son. so alcohol just took the pain away.
How old was your son when you made the move to New Mexico?
I want to say he was 11, about to be 12.
And you decided to not take him with you just to uproot him and put him in a different school and all of the
Well,
things?
it was custody issues. There's
got you.
just some things.
I'm divorced.
Yeah.
I know the custody thing.
Yeah.
I've raised mine, and they go visit their mom every other weekend and one day during the week, and we get along great.
Yeah.
Not that she's ever going to listen to this, but I just want to make sure she knows we get along great. But I understand, like,
Yeah.
you
It was
pick your
just-
battles.
It was pick your battles, but honestly, I thought Landon was better off without me.
Why?
Because by the time I got to New Mexico and had been there, I wasn't sober. I had started drinking again. And
This is after the 90-day halt.
oh yeah, like this was, so I got out of rehab in February of 2019, and I was in New Mexico of May of 2019.
Because I heard you say that you went to Catherine's Way for your parents and for Landon. You didn't say in there that you went for Nicole.
Oh, I didn't.
You were doing it to check boxes for other people.
I
And
was
that's
doing-
important for listeners to know. Like, when people come up to us and they say, "Hey, can you give us help?" The two biggest questions sometimes that we have to ask is, well, do they want it? And I hate this to say it, but the other question sometimes is, do you have insurance?
Yeah.
Do you have insurance?
Yeah.
Because that'll help. But there's some really great places where you don't need insurance. But the biggest question is, well, do they want it? And
That's
so
what
Nicole
I-
didn't want it.
No, I didn't. And that's what I asked my people when I do live and things like that. That's the number one thing, like I ask them all the time is, do you want it? And then I remember being asked one time in rehab, like, have you had enough pain? And I want to say, like, having enough pain is what did it for me this last time. Because in June of 2021, I just tried to end it all. Matter of fact, on my live, I have that picture posted that you've seen. That's probably the video.
That's you right
yes, that is me. That was me 2-3 days after I had tried to not be here anymore.
Oh, I've tried that before too.
Yeah.
That's Nicole, that's a rough looking picture right
Yeah.
there. Tell me what was that day right there? Because can your viewers see that picture
Yeah,
too?
they can. So
Okay.
they can see, I don't know if we're sideways, I don't know how, but they can see it. So that
Okay,
is
we're
the
sideways.
that is the one that I have that got my TikTok re-going, because I did TikTok, then I got off for a little bit, but that is the one that went viral. Yeah.
I really need to learn to do this TikTok thing.
Yeah.
You got a huge impact. How many people are watching you right now? 7 million? Does that say 7 million?
Yeah, it says like 7 million. I'm just kidding.
No, okay, so tell me about that day. That was, you said you just tried to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But you're pretty bruised up.
Yeah, so actually what happened was I had went to the liquor store on base and got a handle. And
Explain to everybody what a handle is.
it is a huge thing of liquor. Like, it is
Is it a
huge.
gallon?
It's a gallon.
Gallon of liquor.
I had went and got a gallon, and I had went and got notebook paper, so I could write
Did you write it?
my son a letter. No, because they always say God does for you what you can't do for yourself. And on my way back to get the Uber, I turned around and I passed out in front of 2 MP cars. Yes. They came to me. They got me. I mean, I had drank so much that morning. The only reason I remember going to the liquor store to get what I got is because it was just, when you make that decision, that final decision, and I had done tried it enough that I knew what I had to do to do it. And I have to be careful what I say because it's TikTok and
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
they'll knock you off sometimes. But I remember that day because I remember thinking what I was going to say to my son. Like, I was going to write him notes for his wedding day, for his high school graduation, that I get to see next year now.
Aw.
But I was I was just done, man. I was
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah, I get it. I did that too. That the second time or the first time I tried to hurt myself, I was in a same, was in a dark place, alone, and I wrote it. I wrote a letter to the boys, to their mom, and just kind of spilled my guts. And I wanted to hurt some people as I went.
Yeah.
But
I
I wasn't
get
thinking
that.
about but I wasn't thinking about the people I would hurt after I was gone.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because we're selfish, man.
We're so stinking
We're
selfish.
selfish.
So I get everything you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand. And this is heavy stuff. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have to get heavy on the podcast because you have to tell your testimony so that we can get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
So what was that moment like when these MPs picked you up?
I remember they put me in, so I remember that they put me in the back of the ambulance. They got my military ID. My ex-husband was an officer, and he was actually working at the Pentagon. We were in Washington and Arlington, Virginia. And they took me to the hospital, got me somewhat sober. The funny thing was I left, my ex-husband went to come pick me up. So I got an Uber to take me home, but on the way home I stopped and got liquor, right? So that's just how messed up I was.
Did you talk to Landon between the time that you got picked up and the
No,
time that you got there?
because what happened was before this, I want to say it was, I wish I could see it because if my mom's watching, she can correct me. A week or two before this happened, my mom and Landon flew in to Virginia to see me. And I was so drunk that I could not pick them up from the airport.
Did she know?
No.
Mama didn't know?
Well, she knew I had been drinking, but
Yeah.
I remember when I called her, she said, what if Landon would have been by himself? You know? And, at that moment, I didn't care, you know? Like, I was so selfish, but I just didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted alcohol more than I wanted air to breathe. Like, I wanted it that bad. I remember I used to sit outside the liquor store because I had a breathalyzer in my car, so I had to, a lot of times I had to get an Uber to take me to the liquor store. And I remember one day, on the matter of fact, this happened twice, but on the way back from the hospital, the Uber driver pulled into the liquor store, and I sat there and I cried, and he said, ma'am, are you sure you want to go in? And I said, I don't want to, but I have to. Because I didn't want it. What I wanted was to be a mom. What I wanted was to be a wife. What I wanted was to be a daughter. I mean, I hadn't had a relationship with my dad in over 8 years, you know? What I wanted was to be a good person, and it didn't matter,
Yeah.
you know?
It's important for people to hear exactly what you just said. It's not that. Trying to figure out the exact best way to say this for what the way that cab driver or the Uber driver said, do you really need to go in there? It's not that you didn't. It's not that you wanted it, but you had to
I
have
had
it.
to have it, and
Yeah.
I
It's like a
remember-
medicine after a
It
certain amount of
is.
time.
It like
Makes you feel better.
It does. And the thing was it was like at that moment in time, Landon and Mom had come in. When they got there, I was drunk. And Landon told my mom, he said, Mimi, I want to go home. And they were there for 3 days. And my stepdad had to come pick them up. And that was the last time I seen my child until I got sober.
How old was he then?
I want to say he was 11. He was 11 because I think he turned 12 when I got sober.
Why was that the last time?
Because after that happened, my ex-husband left and went to a hotel room, and I just
They wanted.
drank and drank and drank until he ended up coming home. My ex-husband ended up coming home, and I was so drunk he threw all the alcohol away, and I started having withdrawals. And alcohol withdrawals are the only thing, it is one of the only withdrawals that can take you out, And
It's so scary.
it is. And I remember I started withdrawing, and he came in, because I was sleeping in another room. He came in there and he was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "You need to call the ambulance."
Can you explain to listeners and viewers that are watching your TikTok and that'll eventually watch this
It's okay, it's
This.
just very southern.
that will eventually watch this episode? Can you explain what a detox, or not a detox, what that withdrawal looks like? Like, can you describe that feeling?
It is, I literally felt like my bones were shattered. I couldn't breathe. I was hearing voices. When they got me to the hospital, they put me on every type of medicine to stop my withdrawals, and they wouldn't stop. And I literally I remember it was so bad that if I stepped out of the hospital bed, the alarm went off. I couldn't even get up by myself. I was sweating, my blood pressure was bad, but I felt like I was dying.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it. And the spiritual part of it is what was even crazier, because it was like I could hear, the only thing I can say is it was like I could hear the devil talking to me. And
Yeah.
I know that may sound crazy, but I could. And they were going to have to put me in a medically induced coma because my withdrawals would not stop. And I called my mama, and the nurse talked to my mom, and I don't really remember what she said to my mom. And I called Catherine's Way again, and I talked to Anna, and I remember Anna telling me, once you get out, we'll take you. And she told me that they would pray for me. And I remember laying there, and I remember like I was holding on to the rails of the hospital bed because I was shaking. I was literally shaking so bad. It was like I couldn't be still because my body was hurting so much from withdrawing from the alcohol. And I remember saying, "God, if you will just make this stop, I promise I will get help. Like, I promise I will be done." And I remember they came in to just get ready to put me in the medically induced coma, and my withdrawal stopped.
Really?
Just like that. I went home the next day and got on a train and went to Catherine's Way.
The reason I asked you if you remembered that withdrawal is because we just said a second ago that you didn't want the alcohol, but it became like a medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And so your body's reaction to not having your medicine puts you in that state.
It does.
I used to wake up in the middle of the night because I could pass out, but I would never go into like a deep, regular sleep because I would do alcohol and cocaine and crack.
Mm-hmm.
So they were fighting against each other in my brain and in my body, and so I would be up sometimes. But it's hard to see the sun come up and then have a detox or DTs of alcohol. And so that's what got me where I started drinking in the morning time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it sounds so stupid, but my grandmother passed away. And I used to love to drink in the morning and watch the Golden Girls.
It's not funny, but I used to
It
love to
reminded me of
drink
my
and watch
grandma.
sermons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know.
Wow. But it reminded me of my grandma, and then I'd have my kid with me. He was a baby then, and I was supposed to watch him, be responsible for him. You know, I was responsible for a human, another human, not just myself. Man, I'd sit him in that bouncy thing and lay out lines of coke on a plate and just chill out all day long. So I mean, I want to say all that so I don't want you to feel like you are the only person in the room that carried the burden of all that.
Yeah. Thank you. It's so crazy because a lot of people, I had a patient come in yesterday and I was working on her, And so I started making bracelets for my TikTok, and something just told me to bring up bracelets, making bracelets to her. So I did. And she said, "What are you making them for?" And so I started telling her about I was in recovery. And this lady just stops and she starts crying and she says, "How do you know that you have a problem?" And I just stopped working on her and I looked at her and I said, "Is it drinking?" And she shook her head yes. And I said, "If you have to ask," I was like, "Baby, you have a problem." And it was so cool because I got to witness to her, you know, and I prayed with her. But it's so crazy because it's like people don't realize that, you know, alcohol, that substances, what it can do to you.
Right.
They don't realize, like, you know, you were saying, like, you had your kid. I would leave mine in the house, go to the liquor store down the street, and come back while he was still sleeping.
Same. I used to go to the drug man's house.
Yeah.
And all it would take for us to get in a car wreck or get a DUI and they wake up alone.
Right.
You know, I think about that.
Yep. I mean,
I don't think about it as much as I used to, you know, when I was first, you know, that first 5 years, it just, you go back through all the things that you've done and you try to remember all the things that you've done. And it's almost like you're trying to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
It's a lot to walk through, you know, when you're doing the steps. That was one of the most not proud parent moments I've ever had is the thought of me getting hurt and then waking up alone in that trailer that I was living in. It didn't have air conditioning and it was September, August or September. They used to come down there every other weekend. So I get it. I mean, it's like we live the same kind of life. Okay, let's shift gears because this has been pretty heavy. I want to shift gears. You got sober what year? 2019?
No, that was the first time. So this time I've been sober. This year's 4 years.
Okay.
I got sober. I went to rehab June 17th of 2021.
Okay,
So I've been
just
sober
after
since
the
2021.
COVID. Okay, let's shift gears to talk about what those 4 years have looked like. Okay. Because you've been in recovery from drug or from alcohol, but you talked about 200 pounds of weight loss is a lot, and so you're in recovery from that. But what does life look like now? You're famous on TikTok. I think it says 17 million's following right now. So tell me what today looks like, and when I mean today, I mean 4 years. What does 4 years look like? And make it your most proudest speech you've ever given.
All I can say is it shows you the love of Jesus and grace and mercy.
Okay.
That is what those 4 years have looked like.
That was Pastor Nicole.
That was Pastor Nicole, right?
Give me a real life. And that's real life. I'm not trying to shy away from that. I'm just saying, like, what has your recovery given you?
What has it given me? It has given me, first and foremost, my son back. That's the best thing.
Yeah, it is.
That's the best thing, is having him back. It's given me a relationship with my daddy. You know, I was always the girl that had daddy issues. And I never had a relationship with my dad.
Why was that?
I say it's because I felt like it was just because I was just a disgrace to me. But I really know it was because it was just tough love. And my daddy didn't put up with my drinking. He didn't put up with my lifestyle. And so I didn't go around him. I mean, you know, like, everything that I thought was my dad was really just me not wanting to have tough love, me not wanting to hear truth. And my dad gave it to me. And so matter of fact, I just came from heaven. I went to church with my dad and stepmom this morning, and I just came from having, you know, lunch with them. But it gave me a relationship with my daddy and my stepmom, because I didn't have a relationship with her. I've always had a relationship with my mama, like I said. My mama was my rock, but she was also my enabler, and she'll agree with that until she wasn't. Until she was like, I'm done.
Yeah, that's that. I was about to say that there's a hard, deep gray line on for parents and families on what the balance is between being an enabler and being a strong-willed parent.
Yeah.
Because you get lost in, well, I gotta love. It's my responsibility to take care of this other person, that's my daughter or my son, and the line's blurry for some people, and rightfully so. Yeah, I mean, I get it. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, I mean, she is. When my mom was done and my stepdad, because my stepdad, he was the one that I would call when I would get drunk because I didn't want to tell anybody, and he would come get me. My stepdad's a preacher, and he just loved me. You know, he did. He loved me, and he didn't agree with what I did, but he loved me, and so I've always had my mama and my stepdad, but my relationship with them is better because they don't worry about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've gotten their trust back, but my biggest things would have to be my son and having a relationship with my dad.
That's great.
And my stepmom. I went to school. I finished school. I got my massage therapy. Then I got my neuromuscular medical massage practitioner certification. And I started my own practice, and I did that for about 2 years. And now I'm working at a med spa.
Good for you.
I actually work with my stepmom, so it's really cool. It's really cool to go from not having somebody there to having them there. You know what I mean? It's just really cool to watch how God restores.
Yeah.
Like he's a God of restoration, you know?
I'm glad you keep bringing God up in your relationship with Christ. I think that's super important. For people that may listen to this, or some of your listeners that, you know, they're very scared if you try that. You don't Jesus juke anybody in that first year.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, it was to me. Like, don't throw me that, you know. Do you remember, so you said your stepdad was a pastor? Or
And
is
my
a
dad,
pastor?
my
and your
stepdad's
dad?
a pastor, my dad
So
was
you probably had a relationship with God your whole life.
Oh, I did, but I did, but I hated him.
Okay. When during your addiction, do you remember like a really heavy spiritual moment when he tried to show up in your life, or maybe he did show up in your life and you turned your back on him?
All the time. All the time. You know, I tell my followers all the time, like, I talk about Jesus because he is who I run to. But I also am one of these people that I don't push Jesus on anybody. But I know that, you know, in the big book it tells us a higher power, or he's my higher power.
Yeah.
But
I love that you said that.
he is.
You
He's
can't
mine.
have people, when they first get in there, they're told, you know, this book or this cup or this phone or this coffee or whatever.
Yep.
You can make anything your higher power. Well, maybe you can, and that just to get you through those first few months. And I think that's just the distraction piece of it. You can focus on your steps with your sponsor, maybe.
Right.
Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong. This is just my thoughts. But I think it comes back once you have enough time in recovery. You start putting the pieces together, and you see where those times that you prayed to something you didn't know in your worst moments, that was actually God.
Oh, yeah.
And when you come to realize that after that first year goes by, and maybe it's less than that first year, but for me it was that first year, I could start to accept what a relationship with him looked like. And it wasn't that it required a lot from me. It just, I was never far enough outside of my own ignorance to understand that I was an okay person. You know what I mean? And he was
he
fine
loved
with
you.
it. Yeah. And he was fine with it. So, and then in your recovery, has your relationship with God, as you understand him, gotten stronger?
It has. I would have to say that when I was in rehab last time, I remember they told me, forget everything you've ever learned about God, about Jesus. and learn Him like you're just meeting Him. And that changed everything for me, because I was brought up that, I was brought up Pentecostal, so I was brought up like, God is a strict God, right? Can't have tattoos, you can't do this, you can't do that. But what I didn't grasp was the love of Jesus. And I always say that I felt like when I got to rehab, I remember I went outside one day, and my best friend now, her name is Grace. I always laugh and say God sent me somebody named Grace because she was my Grace during rehab. You know what I mean? I remember we used to walk all the time, and I went outside one day, and I got down on my knees, and I just told God how I felt. It wasn't pretty. I was yelling. I was screaming. Told Him just how much I didn't like Him, and how could a God that is so great and so merciful, a God that I was brought up is just immaculate, right? He's just holy and all this kind of stuff. In my mind, well, how could you let that happen to me when I was a little girl? How could you let my 12-month-old son have cancer? How could you do this? How could you let me go into addiction? How could you do all of this? And I got all of it out, right? And I remember I said, Lord, I don't even know if you're real. I've learned about you my whole entire life, but I don't even know if you're real. But if you are, I have nothing left to give but me. So here I am. Take me. And I always say that I feel like at that moment, I said it in the video I did for this, in the Bible, the Lord says, like, Talitha Kum, little girl, get up. I feel like He walked by, He lifted my head, He dusted me off, and He said, baby girl, I'm not done with you yet.
So He was the breeze you felt.
Yes. He was, at that moment, things happen, and I remember when I first felt the love of God, it changed everything. Because my addiction wasn't just alcohol. My addiction was men too. I've been single for 4 years. I mean, I dated a guy for a little bit for like 2 months, but that didn't work out. But I mean,
I can tell by the way you're flinging your hands and
yeah,
rolling your eyes. You didn't matter.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't matter. But like my addiction was everything that didn't make me focus on me, because I didn't want to see Nicole.
Right.
And so at that moment, when I had that moment with Jesus, I think it's where, because I had a lot of church hurt. That's the thing, and that's what I tell people all the time, especially like my followers. They'll tell you, like, I'm one of these people that, God says that in the Bible, it talks about we're supposed to be the church. The church is just the building. We're supposed to be a church. We're supposed to be the church, right? So I had a lot of church hurt, and I just had a lot of anger when it came to anything that had to do with church, with Jesus, until the moment I just came to the end of me, and all I had left was Him.
That's good. That's a good word, Nicole. All right, so what made you decide to do the TikTok thing?
So TikTok was TikTok was just this thing. I've never really been a person that does a whole bunch of social media. I've never been a person that did anything like that. And one day I was just scrolling through lives, and I came across this guy's live, and his name is Dylan, and he was sharing a story, and I'm not going to share a story, but he was talking about someone he had lost due to addiction. And I went into his live and just started talking to him. Fell in love with his community of people that he had. And I told him, so back then you had to have 1,000 followers to go live. And I said, I want to be able to go live so people don't have to be alone. Because a lot of times we drink. I drank when I was alone. I didn't drink when I was out with people. I drank when I was alone. And there was this girl that I know of, and they found her in a car, and TikTok was laying beside her, and she had OD'd. And the only thing that kept going through my mind was, what if she would have came across alive where she realized that she wasn't alone.
Mm.
That there was a group of people there that would be like, hey, we'll come to you. Hey, we'll find you. I mean, in 2018, I was drunk in a Target parking lot, and somebody who is my friend now seen me. I guess I was passed out. They came, knocked on my window, and sat with me till a group of girls came and took me to a meeting, and that moment saved my life. If it wasn't for him, I don't know that I would be here today, because I don't really even remember it. That's
Yeah.
how messed up I was. So I'm pretty sure I probably would have woke up and drove home. So what got the TikTok going was I just wanted to be able to sit with people so they know that they're not alone, because it's just not addiction, and it's relationships. It's feeling like you're not good enough,
Mm-hmm.
It's feeling like you're not worthy, that you're not valuable. And even guys feel that way too. Mine is more directed towards women because I have a heart for women, but guys feel that way too, But that's what started TikTok. Was I didn't care about the followers. I didn't care about any of that. I had to have 1,000. Dylan and his group got me to 1,000 in 2 days.
That's awesome.
They did. They were amazing.
It's taken me 3 years.
We'll get you there. Y'all go following. But now you only have to have 100 to go live. You don't have to,
okay.
yeah, you don't have to have 1,000. But that is what started me going live. But the reason I do it is I don't care that people know who I am. Like, we could sit here and I could just talk to you and nobody see my face. I just want to help people, because I know what it feels like to feel like you're hopeless, to feel like nobody cares, to feel like you don't have anybody. I was the preacher's kid, I couldn't struggle.
Yeah.
I was, Nicole, I live in a small town. I actually, I don't want to say where I live. I live in Augusta, but, I don't live in Augusta, but you know where I live, And so it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. I shouldn't have lived the way I was, the way I lived my life. But I did. And I felt like I couldn't reach out. I felt like I couldn't go to anybody. Definitely couldn't go to me, and not talking about church, but I couldn't go to church because people would talk about me.
Because everybody knows you. Yeah.
Everybody knows me.
Know your
Or I didn't
parents.
look like everybody else. I didn't dress like everybody else. That's how I viewed it, So I just wanted to be that person. And I have a great group of people that go into my lives, and they also help, because I will never tell you I understand something unless I do. So we had somebody come in alive, and they had lost, it was their mom or their dad, and I was like, I can't help you with that because I've never lost anyone close to me, but I do know I have people in here that can help you, because I'm never going to look at you and say I understand if I don't.
Now, how often do you go live?
So I go live, usually I try to go live like at least twice a week. I need to start going. I used to go live every day at 7 o'clock, and it just got a lot.
Yeah, that's a
And
job.
so it is. It's a lot.
It takes the fun out of it.
It does. And so now I'm trying to get where, I'm trying to have my lives more on a schedule. So I'm going to try to at least go live twice a week. Maybe in the beginning of the week and towards the afternoon, towards the end of the week. But usually I go live around 7. Sometimes I go live later because we're addicts, and usually we're up late at night, and that's usually when we struggle the most. So I try to go live late at night, just so people know they're not alone.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Mm-hmm.
Will you ever get married again?
I don't know.
You don't know? That's okay.
I don't know. I always say that I know that God has somebody out there for me, and apparently he's on a turtle in the desert without a GPS because homeboy ain't came yet. You know what I mean?
Never heard that before.
That's what I say. If it is, it would definitely have to be, I would have to know that it was from God.
Yeah.
I would have to know that it was from God. I would have to know that it is who he wanted me to be with. But they would definitely have to have a relationship with Jesus. If they're, in recovery, they would have to have some years sober, behind them.
It's important.
But for so long, my focus has always been men and substances. And right now, like, my son graduates next year, so I've been I made myself a promise that if I got sober, I would make him my priority. And he's been my recovery, Jesus, and Landon has been my focus,
I want to say that I am so very proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that I got on TikTok and came across
Me
your
too.
feed. I got a few gifts I want to give you.
Okay.
Now, you came to one of my workshops last
Mhm.
week. Was it last week? Week before last? Sometime in the past. And I gave you one of the books, Marriage After
Right.
Addiction. And the reason I asked you that is because I wrote this book when I got out of treatment. I wrote Marriage After Addiction because we are taught to be selfish people.
Right.
But if you do have a spouse, or if you're thinking about getting married one day, there's really not a resource out there for them.
Mhm.
There's Al-Anon and things like that, but it really
Mhm.
hasn't evolved or done anything. So that's the reason I got published, is because we couldn't find anything for outside of like real
Right.
counseling.
Mhm.
And so this is written as a workbook, and I gave you a copy, but I want to give you another one just in case you have a friend that you think about that
Okay.
needs it. And then I'll also give you our
So
new
coffee. I was going to ask you about the
new
coffee.
line of coffee.
My mom loves coffee. I'm living with my mom right now. I moved back in with my mom to save some money, and she loves coffee. And I was going to ask you about the coffee today.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some coffee. So we partnered with a group out of Guatemala. We get coffee. We can send it wherever we want in the whole world. But we are helping another nonprofit by outsourcing our own Recovery Bowel line of coffee from Guatemala. And this creates funds for us as a nonprofit, which is
Okay.
fantastic. But it also gives this organization funds for what do they get with this? They get smokeless stoves, they get water filters, and they get meal plans for their children. So it's a win-win.
That's awesome, though. Yeah.
So I'm going to give you one of that for just coming on, and I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. You did really good. I don't know what you were nervous about.
I was
Felt like-
nervous. I was so nervous.
Yeah, don't be
So nervous.
All right, Cameron, I'm gonna do an outro
Yeah. Do
or an
outro.
intro.
Hold on.
I'm gonna do an intro.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Can I do this really quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's gonna knock me off.
Did we say something wrong?
No, it's this thing. Hold on.